They're often invisible, but they may live in your community. It could be your next-door neighbor or even your child's best friend. On the outside, they look like typical kids and teenagers, but in private, they're dealing with issues and responsibilities usually reserved for adults. They're called young carers, a term coined in Britain in the 1990s.
So a young carer is someone who is young, like 4 to 18, who actually is doing caregiving for somebody.
Debbie Orosz is the program coordinator for the Powerhouse Project, an Ontario-based nonprofit agency that provides support for preteen and teenage caregivers. There are no definitive statistics on the number of young carers in Canada because it's such a new field of study. But in southwestern Ontario, one organization has been stepping up to the plate for the past 2 years. Thanks to the Powerhouse Project, young carers now have a place to turn to.
So they're giving care to either a sibling who may have a learning disability, autism, may have a childhood disease, could be a parent with cancer, MS, an addiction, mental health issues, or it could be a grandparent that either lives in the home or in a close proximity who is living with a dementia or an Alzheimer's type problem.
Powerhouse also supports 2 often forgotten demographics: children of new immigrants and siblings of sick and autistic children.
Parents who are first-generation Canadian who may not be speaking English, so they're interpreting at the banks, they're interpreting at the doctor's office, and in those cases they become privy to information that's well beyond their years, and that makes it hard for them. We support a few families with children with autism. The other children in the family kind of are taking a bit of a back seat to that, and so we give them that opportunity to be the special one.
Although the Young Carers movement has been around for some time in Great Britain, in Canada, Orosz says, it's relatively new and it began rather unintentionally.
We had 2 ladies who worked for the Alzheimer Society in Niagara who went to Great Britain just to see how the Alzheimer Society was doing things over there. And when they got there, they realized that they're looking after their youth.
What began in the basement of a home is now held in several churches and has grown to include over 200 kids in the Niagara and Haltom and Norfolk regions of Ontario.
A lot of the organizations and a lot of things that happen for kids in Haltom and Norfolk happen through the churches. So churches, through their outreach, community outreach, are opening their doors to us, and we pay rent.
18-year-old Brittany Groves is a member of the Powerhouse Project's Youth Advisory Committee. She knows all too well what it's like to have your childhood turned upside down by illness. At just 7 years of age, her father developed frontal lobe dementia and Alzheimer's. He died in 2009. What was that like for you?
I really didn't, at the time I still didn't know what was going on, so I just thought it was something I was doing, so I really didn't know. So I would keep apologizing for nothing that I did.
Most of the work was done by her mother, Sandra, but as Brittany got older, she took on more responsibility.
Babysitting him, getting him his pills at night and whenever he needed them, mostly babysitting.
Okay, and what does that mean?
When Mom would go out for meetings or whatever, I would just basically stay home and make sure he didn't get into trouble.
Trouble, says Sandra Groves, is something her husband got into more frequently as his behavior became erratic.
Because he couldn't judge what he was doing, but he was like a 2-year-old. He really was. He wanted what he wanted when he wanted it.
And as he grew more childlike, Brittany says she was forced to become the adult. Eventually, she says her relationship with her dad was non-existent.
Yeah, whenever he was getting out of hand, I cooked. That's basically the only way I could actually get him to behave.
You couldn't necessarily have a conversation with him? Or?
No, you could try. You normally ended up talking about something really random, but other than that, he was watching TV, and if he was fine, I just left him alone.
Although her husband's illness affected both of their lives, Sandra Groves says she tried to give her daughter as normal a childhood as possible by inviting friends over and connecting her with other young carers.
We had to tell all of her friends, when you come in, you have to take no offense at her dad, because sometimes he'd say weird things. And, if you got upset, talk to me privately. And we had to make him understand that she's still a child. She needs her friends. So we tried to make it normal.
Aren't you working with your buddy there? She looks like
Normalcy is the goal, says Debbie Orosz of the Powerhouse Project. The idea is that by getting young caregivers together, they'll be less likely to develop some of the social problems that come with having so much responsibility at such a young age.
These kids are sort of over-responsible in one area and tend to be socially inept in another because they don't get that opportunity to be out in the community with their peers because they're so busy. They're working, they're helping their family, so they don't have that opportunity. So therefore they don't mix well, and then bullying starts and all those kind of things.
Along with social skills, self-esteem building, and stress management, Powerhouse also teaches practical tools its members can use at home.
Well, we offer educational skill-building activities, so things like learning how to cook, how to do laundry, how to budget, how to do some grocery shopping, because some of them are doing everything from paying the bills to feeding everybody, bathing their younger brothers and sisters, getting them ready for school, all those kind of things. So we help to build on those skills that they need to do those kind of things.
And for educators, clergy, and community members, Orosz says there are telltale signs to be on the lookout for when trying to identify young carers in your life.
He tends to be maybe a bully, or he will be bullied. If they're falling asleep at school, they don't ever have their homework done, there's always an excuse. Those are flags that there may be something going on at the home. Maybe you have somebody in your church who has MS. If they have children, their children are young carers. If you are aware that someone has had some mental health issues, then their children are carers.
Oh yeah!
Recognizing young carers and offering support in the early stages is key to helping them make positive life choices, something Orosz says all Canadians should care about.
If we can help them to stay positive about their experience, a lot of them will probably gravitate towards, well, so they say from what's going on in Great Britain, they'll gravitate towards social service kind of jobs. You know, it takes a village to raise a child, and we just want to be part of the village.
That's why the Powerhouse Project is turning to older carers like Brittany Groves to take on leadership roles, something Groves has embraced.
Because a lot of the time, younger kids are so willing to go out and the parents are like getting them to go out. The older kids don't, and since we're like both teenagers, we're trying to think of things that would connect, like laser tag or something that would get the older kids more interested in getting together. And basically after that, we're supposed to be doing like counseling, peer counseling kind of thing. We haven't started that yet, but right now it's just been the activity things.
At 18, Groves is a well-adjusted young woman, and with everything she's been through, her advice to other young caregivers is to acknowledge your feelings and tell someone.
Basically, it's okay to like feel bad about it. Don't try to like completely ignore it. Like, yeah, you're gonna have to accept it. Like, let people know around you, like your friends, if they like are always there, let them know what's going on. Your teachers, your principal maybe. Just make sure like people know what's going on. So if you are having like a really, really bad day, they can't really blame you for it. They can, but there's probably a reason why you're in a bad mood.
In St. Catharines, Ontario, Bridget, Antwi, 100 Huntley Street.